1 second later, the ocean claimed what was never ours. It was an immutable truth, a chilling echo in the vast, inky expanse of the Mariana Trench, 11,000 meters beneath the surface. For decades, humanity has peered into the abyssal plains, driven by an insatiable curiosity, believing itself the sole arbiter of complex intelligence on Earth. But beneath the crushing pressure, in perpetual twilight where sunlight dares not penetrate, whispers of something else, something ancient and unfathomably complex, have begun to stir. This is not a tale of discovery, but of an encounter, a harrowing descent into the unknown that redefined our very perception of ourselves and the elusive boundaries of conscious existence. Our story truly begins not with a splash, but with a signal. In late 2042, the Deep Sea Neutrino Observatory, DSNO, array, positioned off the coast of Guam and maintained by the Global Oceanographic Institute, GOI, began detecting anomalous energy signatures. These were not the predictable bursts of cosmic rays, nor the geothermal emanations from hydrothermal vents. According to a preliminary report published in Nature Geoscience in early 2043, these signals exhibited a complex, pattern modulation unlike anything ever recorded. Dr. Eris Thorne, a theoretical physicist specializing in exotic matter and quantum communication, was among the first to flag the data's profound peculiarity. He described the patterns as having a distinct, almost rhythmic pulse, interwoven with harmonic frequencies that suggested an intricate, deliberate origin. The GOI initially dismissed the readings as equipment malfunction or an unexplained natural phenomenon. After all, the deep ocean, especially the Hadal Zone, is a crucible of extreme conditions, known for generating bizarre, often unrepeatable data. Yet, as the signals persisted, growing in frequency and complexity over several months, skepticism gave way to a creeping unease. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a marine biologist with a background in bioacoustics and deep-sea neurobiology, joined Thorne's rapidly formed ad hoc team. Her expertise in animal communication led her to postulate that if the signals were biological, they represented a level of communication far beyond any known terrestrial species, rivaling, perhaps even surpassing, human language in its structural sophistication. A comprehensive statistical analysis, detailed in a preprint article on AR-14, later confirmed that the likelihood of these patterns being random noise was astronomically small, less than 1 in a trillion. The sheer scale of the energy required to generate such a signal, detectable across hundreds of kilometers of ocean, hinted at an entity of immense size or advanced technological capability. The working hypothesis, albeit a highly speculative one, was that an unknown species, possibly an extreme extremophile, had developed an entirely novel form of biocommunication, leveraging quantum entanglement or some hitherto undiscovered physical principle to transmit information. This theory, however, only deepened the mystery, pushing the boundaries of known biology and physics into a terrifyingly thrilling frontier. The implications were staggering. If this was a life form, it was a sentient entity that had evolved in complete isolation, thriving in an environment thought utterly inhospitable to complex cognition. The decision was made under immense secrecy and pressure from global scientific bodies to mount an investigative expedition. Codenamed Project Chimera, its objective was to deploy the Triton 4, humanity's most advanced deep submergence vehicle, to the epicenter of the detected signals, Challenger Deep. The Triton 4 was no ordinary submersible. It was a marvel of engineering, capable of withstanding pressures of up to 1,200 atmospheres, equipped with a suite of cutting-edge sensors, multispectral imaging arrays, and an experimental deep-sea AI system named Oracle. Oracle was designed not just for data collection, and for real-time environmental analysis, pattern recognition, and autonomous decision-making in unforeseen circumstances. The human crew, a hand-picked team of 5, included Thorne and Reed, along with Dr. Ben Carter, the lead pilot and a veteran of multiple deep-sea missions, Anya Sharma, a robotics engineer, and Dr. Lena Petrova, a xenolinguist, whose inclusion underscored the project's audacious, almost fantastical premise. Their journey began under the shroud of a moonless night, the surface waters calm, deceptively placid above the yawning chasm below. The Triton 4 descended slowly, its powerful external lights cutting through the increasingly dense gloom. The initial stages of the descent were routine, a familiar ballet of pressure equalization and systems checks. But as they passed the mesopelagic zone, where the last vestiges of sunlight fade, the atmosphere inside the submersible shifted. The sheer enormity of their undertaking, the profound isolation, began to settle. Dr. Carter, usually jovial, grew quiet, his eyes fixed on the depth gauges. Anya meticulously monitored the sub's structural integrity, her brow furrowed in concentration. At 4,000 meters, the first anomaly appeared on their sonar. Not a clear object, but a faint, diffuse echo, far larger than any known marine creature. Oracle, running its algorithms, couldn't classify it. Unidentified mass, non-biological signature consistent with dense fluid or amorphous solid. Its calm, synthesized voice reported. Dr. Reed peered at the screen, her heart thudding. That's impossible. A dense fluid of that size would exert immense pressure itself, yet it's moving against the currents. Dr. Thorne, ever the physicist, mused, unless it's not a fluid in the conventional sense. Perhaps something actively maintaining its form, or existing in a state we don't comprehend. This early detection, documented in the expedition's classified logs, hinted at the fundamental mischaracterization of what they were pursuing. As they plunged deeper, past the bathypelagic and abyssopelagic zones, the external pressure mounted, each millimeter of their titanium hull bearing the weight of kilometers of ocean. At approximately 8,000 meters, the mysterious signals from DSNO intensified, now audible through specialized hydrophones. It wasn't sound as humans perceived it, but a series of low-frequency pulses, almost infrasonic, resonating through the water. Dr. Petrova, with her xenolinguistics background, started inputting the patterns into Oracle's analytical engine. The complexity is staggering, she murmured, her voice laced with awe and trepidation. There are recursive elements, hierarchical structures. It's not just a signal, it's information. The deeper they went, the more the signals coalesced, growing sharper, more insistent. Oracle's real-time processing began to identify recurring motifs, almost like phrases or sentences. Dr. Reed's bioacoustics expertise was invaluable here. It's like a language, but not based on phonemes or discrete units we recognize. It's more like a living, evolving tapestry of frequencies and modulations. According to a speculative paper published by the Expedition Team Post-Mission in the Journal of Marine Biology and Ecology, the communication structure seemed to incorporate principles of holographic information storage, where each fragment contained elements of the whole, a revolutionary concept for natural biological systems. At 10,500 meters, they entered the Challenger Deep proper. The Triton 4's powerful lights illuminated a desolate, alien landscape. Volcanic vents spewed superheated, mineral-rich plumes, creating shimmering oases of life. But it was the silence between these oases that truly unnerved them, an oppressive primal stillness, broken only by the sub's own humming systems and the increasingly intricate alien whispers. Then, through a sudden clearing in a hydrothermal fog, they saw it. Not one, but many, massive, vaguely gelatinous forms, semi-translucent, pulsed with an inner luminescence. They were colossal, easily hundreds of meters in length, drifting with an effortless grace that belied their immense size. These were not fish nor squid, nor any creature in the terrestrial phylogenetic tree. Their forms were amorphous, constantly shifting, yet possessed an undeniable, intricate architecture. Tendrils of light, like neural pathways, crisscrossed their colossal bodies. Dr. Reed gasped, her face pale. My God! They're like living neurons. Gigantic, interconnected neural networks. Dr. Thorne's eyes were wide with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. They're not just communicating, they are the communication. Their very existence is an information exchange. Oracle, running at peak capacity, struggled to categorize the entities. Its internal diagnostic began to flicker, overwhelmed by the sheer scale and novelty of the data. Unidentified biological entities, it reported, its voice betraying a hint of strain, exhibiting anomalous energy fields and complex, nonlinear biological processes. Estimated biomass, unprecedented. The creatures, dubbed abyssal weavers by Dr. Petrova, were interconnected by fine, almost invisible filaments, forming an expansive, living network across the abyssal plane. This network pulsed, shimmering with light, creating the very signals that had drawn them here. According to an extensive analysis published by the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, based on the Triton 4's recovered data, these filaments were not just physical connections but acted as conduits for energy and information, akin to an ocean-spanning synaptical network. As the Triton 4 cautiously approached one of the colossal entities, a new type of signal emerged. It was higher frequency, piercing, and felt, rather than heard, deep within the bones. Dr. Petrova's Xenolinguistics console lit up with a cascade of new data. It's responding to our presence, she stammered, her fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. It's altering its patterns, adapting, just trying to understand us. This wasn't just a communication, it was an interaction. The weavers were not passive biological marvels. They were actively engaging, attempting to bridge the chasm of interstellar, or rather, interspecies, understanding. Dr. Thorne, overriding Dr. Carter's cautious protest, initiated a controlled, low-power sonar pulse. The response was instantaneous and profound. The entire network of abyssal weavers pulsed violently, a kaleidoscope of bioluminescent light erupting across the trench. The high-frequency signals intensified, now accompanied by a low, guttural thrum that vibrated through the submersible's hull. It was not aggressive, but a surge of pure, raw information, overwhelming in its intensity. Oracle's systems began to flash red. Warning: environmental data overload. Multiple system failures imminent. Recommend immediate withdrawal. The fear was palpable in the confined space of the Triton 4. This was not a creature they could study from a distance. This was an intelligent entity, perhaps an entire collective consciousness, reacting with a force that threatened to unravel their very minds. Dr. Reed, however, saw something different amidst the chaos. Look! The patterns. They're not random. They're mimicking our own communication protocols, trying to find a common ground. She pointed to a new set of data streams on Oracle's interface, which showed the Weaver signals attempting to replicate the Triton 4's internal systems diagnostics. It was an astonishing act of emergent intelligence, an attempt to mirror and understand the foreign presence in their ancient domain. This interaction, a profound moment of interspecies contact, was later highlighted in a special edition of Science magazine, describing it as the first verifiable instance of an autonomous deep-sea biocollective attempting to engage in metacommunication. But the sheer influx of data was too much. Oracle, designed to process and interpret, not to be interpreted in such a direct, visceral way, began to falter. The submersible's internal systems, once perfectly regulated, flickered. Lights dimmed, then brightened erratically. The air circulation system groaned. Anya, monitoring the power conduits, yelled, "The energy transfer is spiking. It's like they're trying to interface directly with our electrical grid." The abyssal weavers were not hostile. They were simply too powerful, their method of communication too fundamental, too intertwined with the very fabric of existence, for human technology to withstand without being overwhelmed. Dr. Thorne, recognizing the imminent danger, ordered a retreat. Dr. Carter, his face grim, initiated emergency ascent protocols. But the Weaver's communication had become a torrential downpour, an unfiltered deluge of information. The low thrumming intensified, rattling the very bones of the Triton 4. It wasn't an attack, but a boundless curiosity, a desire to connect that manifested as an overwhelming force. The external lights, designed to pierce the abyssal gloom, began to dim, then overload. Then, one by one, they popped, leaving the submersible in near-total darkness, illuminated only by the frantic red and yellow warnings on the internal screens. Just as they began their agonizingly slow ascent, one of the titanic abyssal weavers pulsed with an extraordinary intensity, brighter than any of the others. A massive, luminescent tendril, hundreds of meters long, detached from its main body and began to extend towards the Triton 4. It moved with a slow, deliberate grace, a magnificent, terrifying gesture. It was not aggressive, but inquisitive, seeking contact. The air inside the submersible grew heavy, electric with unspoken fear. Dr. Petrova, clutching her console, whispered, It's reaching out. It wants to touch us." The tendril, shimmering with an ethereal light, approached the forward viewport. Dr. Carter braced for impact, but there was none. Instead, as the tendril made contact with the outer hull, a surge of energy ripped through the Triton 4. Oracle screamed, its synthesized voice cracking, "Catastrophic system failure. Hull integrity compromised. All non-essential systems offline. Lights inside the submersible died completely, plunging them into suffocating darkness." The low thrumming of the weavers escalated into a cacophony that resonated through their very cells. A chilling report from the Journal of Astrobiology and Geophysics later theorized that the weavers' communication emitted specific frequency patterns that, while harmless to its own biology, could induce resonance frequencies in dissimilar materials, effectively shaking apart foreign objects at a molecular level. In that heart-stopping moment, Anya Sharma, with a desperate surge of adrenaline, managed to reroute auxiliary power to the emergency thrusters. The Triton 4 shuddered, then lurched upwards, breaking free of the tendril's embrace. The weavers, as if startled by the sudden movement, ceased their overwhelming communication. The intense light faded. As the submersible struggled to gain distance, a new, more horrifying realization dawned upon them. The tendril, as it retracted, left something behind. Attached to the outer hull, where the tendril had made contact, was a shimmering gelatinous residue. As they ascended, the residue, exposed to lower pressures, began to break down, revealing intricate crystalline structures within it. But the terrifying part was not what it was, but what it had been. The residue was laced with microscopic fragments of metal, the very titanium alloy of the Triton 4's hull. The weaver had not attacked them. It had simply sampled them, absorbed a part of their technology, perhaps to understand them on a deeper, more fundamental level. It was an act of non-hostile assimilation, a terrifying testament to an alien intelligence that could break down matter at a molecular level, not through force, but through a gentle, probing curiosity. A subsequent metallurgical analysis by the Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory, detailed in a post-expedition review, confirmed the presence of highly unusual, complex crystalline structures within the residue, incorporating elements of the Triton 4's hull material in a way that defied known chemical or biological processes. The Triton 4 limped back to the surface, its crew traumatized, their worldview irrevocably shattered. They had ventured into the deep, seeking an answer, and found not a species, and a living oceanic intelligence, a collective consciousness that had quietly thrived for millennia, oblivious to and untouched by human dominion. The abyssal weavers were not just another life form. They were a monumental, fundamental shift in the definition of intelligent life itself, a complex system of interconnected sentience that communicated through the very fabric of the ocean. Upon their return, the data was rigorously analyzed, cross-referenced, and ultimately classified at the highest level. The implications were too profound, too destabilizing for immediate public dissemination. The global scientific community, however, received a filtered version of the findings, sufficient to ignite a furious debate about the nature of consciousness and the ethics of deep-sea exploration. Dr. Thorne, in a heavily redacted statement to the UN Committee for Deep-Sea Exploration, asserted that we did not discover a new species. We encountered a new form of intelligence, one that forces us to reevaluate our position in the universe even within our own planet. This statement, though vague to the public, was a chilling acknowledgement of humanity's newfound humility. Dr. Reed, plagued by nightmares of the pulsing lights and the overwhelming influx of information, spearheaded a new initiative, Project Echo. Its aim was not to penetrate the Abyssal Weaver's domain again, but to listen to subtly broadcast benign, patterned signals from a safe distance, hoping to establish a dialogue, but rudimentary without risking further overwhelm. She understood that their previous interaction, though terrifying, was born not of malice, though of an overwhelming desire for understanding from an entity fundamentally different from themselves. According to a classified research proposal circulated within the GOI in late 2045, Project Echo's phased approach focused on passive listening and transmitting only non-invasive, mathematically simple prime number sequences, hoping to establish a universal Rosetta Stone. The legacy of Project Chimera, however, was also one of profound anxiety. What if the Weavers were not benign? What if their curiosity evolved into something more active, more invasive? The sheer scale of their intelligence, their ability to manipulate matter through their unique communication, raised disturbing questions about the future of human exploration and technological advancement. If such a species could exist on Earth entirely unnoticed, what else lay hidden in the cosmos? Or even in the unexplored frontiers of our own world? The ocean, vast and enigmatic, still holds countless secrets. But now it also holds the knowledge that we are not alone, not even in our own watery world. The whispers from the Challenger Deep continue, more complex, more insistent, a constant reminder of the profound encounter. Every second that passes, the Abyssal Weavers continue their silent, shimmering dialogue, processing information, expanding their consciousness, perhaps even contemplating the brief, bright, and ultimately vulnerable presence that briefly intruded upon their ancient domain. And 1 second later, the ocean claims what was never ours, revealing the humbling truth that the depths conceal intelligences far beyond our comprehension, patiently observing humanity's fleeting dance on the surface. The mystery of the Weavers endures, a profound, unsettling truth pulsing beneath the waves, forever shifting the paradigm of our place in the universe. We listened, we saw, and we left, and the indelible mark of their presence, the chilling realization of their silent, ancient dominion, will forever echo in the annals of human exploration, a suspenseful testament to the wonders and terrors that lie in the deepest abysses of our world.